Hey guys, Jonathan with Marshall Custom Models here. I wanted to bring you another instructional video today for model building. This one is specific to the Enterprise refit. However, I have found that it is useful to know this little technique for other models that I've used on the Queen Elizabeth II or a few of my other non-sci-fi models like the Ghostbusters Ecto 1A. On the Enterprise, I'm just going to specifically focus on the engines. As I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen, that the blue from the engines on models can tend to oversaturate the eyes. It can tend to it oversaturates the model when you look at it. It just has a blue haze. You lose the other little details that are done to the model. So the several times that I've built several Enterprises so far, and I've been experimenting, and I feel I've found a good way to dull the blue down where it's still noticeable, but it doesn't take away from the rest of the ship, because you don't want one specific feature to take away from any of the ship. You want it all to complement itself. And that's what I've been doing these past several years, of trying to make sure the ship complements itself instead of looking at it with an attitude of those engines are too bright, or the spotlights are not bright enough, or if that was just a little bit better. Trying to complement itself. So today I'm going to show you guys some of this wiring that I do inside the nacelles, and it'll show you how I build them and what I do to dull it down and diffuse the light. So 1 second, I'll reposition the camera and show you guys what I do. Okay guys, well here is the inside of my port nacelle. As you can see, I got the chiller grills already installed, and I have the blue LED tape installed. I've got most of the other lights installed. One here, one of the saucer spotlights. In the back here I have the thruster and then the aft nacelle spot, you can see right there. I don't have it fully wired up yet, but I've got the resistors in place and whatnot. But I wanted to show you this video on how I light the inside of the chiller grill, or inside of the nacelles, I'm sorry. So right here I have an 8-inch strip of 3528 surface mounted diode LED tape. Now this tape is blue. That's what the LEDs, the frequency was set to. Some guys I've seen will take a bright white LED strip and then paint it blue. I prefer using the actual color because I feel it gives me an unimpeded or more of a pure color, which is what I'm wanting here. But the problem that a lot of guys have is when they light up the nacelle, it oversaturates the pylons and everything. So what I've done is, as you can see in here, this is an 8-inch piece of LED tape that has 3 LEDs per inch. The stuff I used to use in older videos, it's the same size LED. I would use 8 inches of it. However, it would have 3 LEDs per inch instead of 3 LEDs per 2 inches. So you can see I am cutting the LEDs by half, and it's still a good amount of light. It may not feel like a whole lot, especially when you paint the chiller grills and you only got these little slivers on the inside where light will come through, but it's more than enough. You can also see what I did with the LED tape. When I take the other half of the nacelle, kind of put it in place, you can see where the LEDs fall. So this front one is going to hit right about right here. This back one is going to hit about 1.5 inches in. And the reason I do that is because this whole back section is going to be painted, and it's going to have a little curve just like in the movie. So I don't need more LEDs in there. But the other thing with LED tape is that it is rated to 12 volts. You don't need that many voltage. I prefer running all my models on 9 volts because it's less power. You don't need as much power on these things. All of my circuit boards actually run better on 9 volts than 12, and there's just not as much power running through wires, resistors, LEDs, so the heat is drastically reduced. So I prefer 9 volts. And what that does is, since this is a 12 volt LED tape, I'll show you a couple things real fast. I'll show you one, what it looks like with 12 volts running through it, and then one with 9. So this is 12 volts, and you can see how it's overpowering the camera. Not a whole heck of a lot, but it is. when I put the other half on, you can see a good amount of light. Let me turn this off. There's a lot of light in there. It almost looks white. Now, that is pulling 67 milliamps, or yeah, it's 67 milliamps at 12 volts. Now, when I turn it down to 9, that it's pulling way less. It's pulling about 8 milliamps. 8 milliamps, and you can see how it's drastically reduced the light. Now again, you can see it getting duller back here, but up to about right here, back is all going to be painted black, so that doesn't matter. But you can also see when I shine it down on my desk, it does light up my desk, but not as much. But it's still plenty of light in there to do what you want to do, especially when the main sections of the chiller grill are painted black. And you also see when I undo it, it's just not as overpowering as the 12 volts. Especially right there. So that's how I do it, guys. I use LED tape that are 3 LEDs per 2 inches. And again, they are 3, 5, 2, 8 surface mounted LEDs. They usually come in 15-foot strands. I'm using 8 inches here. I'll use another 8 in the starboard nacelle. That's a little over 1 foot, so in theory that should get you 12-ish enterprises. This stuff lasts a long time and it's really durable. So I use LED tape, small portion of it, and I run it on 9 volts. That reduces the lighting, and it makes it to where after I get it painted, it does not oversaturate the eyes, it does not cast down onto the pylons. It gives a good smooth lighting to where when you see it, but it doesn't distract from the rest of the model. And also another little tip, what I do to diffuse lighting is I airbrush. I just get Testors White, the least expensive stuff I can find. This is number 1168 flat white, and I thin it down extremely thin, put in my airbrush, and when I start laying it down, it's a very thin coat. I do that until I get a good coverage on there. You can see on the other side, and that was what diffuses my lighting. And it gives a very good effect. I've been using it for years. I'm really happy with it. It's inexpensive, it's easy. The more paint you put on there, the duller it'll be, so it gives you some control on how much light you want through. I've been using it on the nacelles. I've also been using it on the deflector dish. As you can see on the back, I've painted it white. And I've also frosted the front. When I get done painting it, it'll come out really good. Alright guys, well before I go, I want to show you the torpedoes that I finally got wired up and installed on the Enterprise. So enjoy. Alright guys, well that's the instructional video I have for you today. It's just a little technique that I've learned through my building enterprises. I feel that it has worked very well, especially on my last enterprise using a violet pink color. I felt it worked very well because it didn't oversaturate the model. So I hope this helped. Stay tuned as I'll be having more instructional videos coming your way. Take care.